I'd like to call to order the February meeting of the Morrisville Planning and Zoning Board and ask Harleen to give us an invocation.
Father in heaven, thank you for this day. Of course, our first prayers are for the first responders and especially our military overseas, that you will protect them. We thank you we can meet in a free country and pray that you'll be with us in this meeting as we help work on the future of Morrisville. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Harleen. So we have an agenda as published. Any changes from your side, Courtney? We comfortable with the agenda? I guess we get formal these days, so I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda. Good.
You need to appoint voting member first.
Thank you, Catherine. It's great to have you
Pleasure.
back. So we are one full member short this evening, and we're going to ask Catherine as an alternate to be, but she's not been signed in yet, so here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, I motion to adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting, February 8th, 2018.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So the motion's adopted. The agenda is adopted. So now we have the swearing in to.
But we're not on the agenda.
I think together would be good.
Better at it. The first time I think I gave one for a police officer.
That's right.
So if you both could stand right here, and the Bible, or would you just like to affirm? Right hand, say my name, say your name. I do solemnly affirm that I will. You repeat after me. Do solemnly affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith. I will faithfully discharge the duties as a member of the Planning and Zoning Board of the town of Morrisville, according to the best of my skill and ability, according to the law, so help me God. Easiest place for you to sign.
Great job, Marty. Thank you. Congratulations. And yes, Catherine, you were the one who began to be sworn in as a special constable back in the day. The town clerk was reading to the wrong swearing in.
It was a lot of years ago.
So, just to reiterate then, Catherine's voting. Lee, of course, is a full member. Harleen is a full member. Who is missing this evening? Is it just our ETJ member? Rob is not.
Rob is not here.
So, Sanjay, you will also be a voting member because Rob is absent and we don't yet have a quasi-ETJ member. So, next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Any changes or corrections to the minutes that haven't already been given to Marty? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the January the 11th meeting.
I will move to approve the January 11th minutes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. The minutes are approved. Thank you. So with our wonderful new agenda system, we really bolt through things here. We're going to jump right away to item 7, old business. Ben.
I'm going to turn this over 100% to Bidwell.
Good evening. So this should be a fairly short presentation, but just to give you an update, go over some of the direction you gave us last month, and then give you an update on where we are with the transportation plan. So, and then we'll also give you a tentative schedule, some of the public input opportunities that'll be coming up, as well as a little bit more information on our comprehensive awareness engagement plan. So in January, the primary discussion item was Crabtree Crossing Parkway extension, and we as staff gave the board 4 different options to consider, and you have selected option 3, which is to keep the road extension in the draft plan with some modifications, including requiring further study once NC 147 construction is complete, reinforcing the prioritization in the plan of roadway projects, and that we have roadway projects that are prioritized ahead of Crabtree Crossing Parkway extension. And then also reviewing potential ways to legally limit cut-through traffic and messaging on traffic congestion navigation mobile applications such as Waze, which are directly related to some of the concerns we've heard from the neighborhood. As far as the tentative schedule for moving forward, we expect to have the revised draft plan to you to begin your review again in March. And we expected that review will last approximately 3 to 4 months. We'll begin with the presentation by staff of the draft plan. We expect that to take about 2 months. We're going to try and cut it up into more easily digestible pieces for you. And then following the presentation of the draft plan, we'll open up a public comment session on the revised draft. Again, we expect a multi-month period for that, and that date we're really when we start that public comment period, that'll be dependent upon you, the board, telling us as staff when you're ready to start accepting public comment on it. And then once you receive the public comment and you have your discussion, you hopefully will make a recommendation on the draft, and that will forward it on to the town council. And again, that'll be after the public comment session is closed. We still have many public input opportunities remaining. The first one is public comment portal. That is still open even with the transition to the new website. So we have had to move things around a little bit, but there's now a button on the homepage that'll take you straight to the transportation plan update page. And then if you click on that little blue comment bubble, that'll take you to the new public comment portal, and with instructions of how to fill that out. And again, all the comments that are submitted to that will be provided to the Planning and Zoning Board and the Town Council.
Does that direct link still work?
Yes, that direct link for the with transportation plan update does still work as well. We will have additional public input opportunity at public comment session and the public hearing. This board will hold a public comment session. Again, that date will be set by the board. And then once the town council begins their review, they will hold a public hearing on the draft plan. And that date will be set once the town council gets the recommendation from this body. Then the third opportunity for public input is going to be through our comprehensive awareness and engagement plan. And we're still working with our public information officer and community relations liaison to develop this plan. But so far what we're looking at proposing will be, of course, information pushed out on social media through email blasts, probably at least 1 or 2 postcard mailings. We're looking at scheduling some neighborhood meetings, of course, a public comment session with this board, and then the public hearing with town council. As far as when any of the neighborhood meetings will occur, we don't quite know yet, but we are planning to have both daytime and evening meetings And we'll determine the dates and times as we get a little bit closer and ready to start pushing that information out, as well as the locations. But we do plan to try and have those throughout town to get a wide array of public. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions or comments the board has.
Thank you, Ben. The traffic on the portal or the website, has that sort of tailed off? Any idea of how that's going?
It has a little bit recently, but it has, the whole time we've had that portal open, it's ebbed and flowed. It usually picks up as we get a little bit closer to some of the PCB meetings, and then right after the PCB meetings, it can be fairly high, and then it'll slow down after that. So it really is. There hadn't been a true. We haven't been able to see a real trend yet. It ebbs and flows.
Okay, thank you. Arlene, any questions or comments?
Just one question. So you mentioned the social media blast and others. So are the discussions from the social media also captured automatically into the website, or are they not included?
No. Any comments and discussions directly on those social media posts will not be captured through the portal.
Okay.
Arlene?
I was wondering how you're doing on those 700 changes, Courtney. I couldn't believe
It's a
it
little
when I
thicker
saw that
than this
email.
last one, huh?
In fairness, it's really the consultant that's having to integrate all of those changes. I think it was 754 or something like that, comments to anybody. I think it's over 700 is the easy way to describe it. They will have, they're kind of slowly sending us revisions so we can take a look to make sure everything is captured. But we have every anticipation that you will have a draft presented to you in March.
Good.
Lee?
No more comments.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Wow. This is
Oh, January, that's my
accelerating here. Item 10, Courtney.
Okay, so I have one item under here for staff comments, and that is our monthly, what's happening around town newsletter that's related to planning. In the month of January, we had one townhome development submitted, just a site plan for that, and it's the Northampton townhomes. This is going to be the second phase development, which is the Hampton Towns development. So it's the back parcel to that that's really between the one that you reviewed and the railroad tracks. There were some administrative approvals. Shiloh Animal Hospital, which is located on Licton Boulevard, right near Chef's Academy. We've approved that site plan. And the former Gander Mountain building is being converted from one tenant to a 3-tenant building. And we have approved all the exterior elevations changes that are necessary to facilitate that. Town Council did approve the Wilson Place and the Hampton Place townhome development. And there's 3 small cell towers that were approved within the right-of-way. You'll start seeing them pop up more and more, as we've talked about a little bit. But most of them, are just a little bit, they're thicker and they're a little bit taller than your standard light pole. But it's really to improve service, getting signals to the larger cell towers, and it's helping to, it's the quickest, most affordable way to really fill in gaps versus building new towers in different places. And then the comprehensive transportation plan update, just as a reminder, we sent it to the council as well. So we put a little blurb in there that there was a discussion and additional input provided on the draft plan at your January 11th meeting. So that's a little bit what's going on. I think there's going to be a fair amount of approvals probably come through in the next month. Volume is fairly high right now in the department, with the number of reviews coming through, lots of projects.
So we can expect next month's agenda to be a little bit longer than this one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We thought we would be a little kind to you this evening.
Thanks, Courtney. So the Northampton townhomes, so they would be the ones that are to the east of the current.
Yes, sir.
And the current ones are called Hampton?
Yeah, I think for the purpose of submitting them in our record-keeping system,
Right.
I'm not sure they'll actually ultimately have two different names, but it's not uncommon. What we review and what sign goes in the ground don't always match. A lot of times it has to do with the LLCs they form and how financing is all structured. But
Just challenged my geography, but I thought it was to the east and they're calling it north, but
sorry, it is. It's not. It's kind of like to the north in one way, but
so be it.
it is to the east. You're right. I guess I'm the one's geography. Or
And
geographically
the same developer is doing both.
my understanding is it is.
So there was sort of that implication when they were going through before, but that's good because that'll tie the two together.
We'll tie the two together, and the two combined, there's a lot of undevelopable land in that second parcel, so the two combined still won't be enough to actually trigger a TIA. They're not actually generating a lot of units on the second parcel.
So on that undevelopable land is opportunity for some nice green space and playgrounds and things, right?
It's going to be preserved, probably streams and wetlands, most likely.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. So on to board comments.
Before we move there, can I
sorry,
two
please.
other things? One, each of you should have a copy of a draft planning and zoning board handbook in front of you. Really want to give a big shout out to Michelle. She really kind of started this initiative, and Dylan helped to wrap it up. Dylan's our transportation planner, but we asked him to reach out and share a little bit of a different field here. And he was kind enough to help us out. You'll go through, you'll see some stuff that with the comments we've highlighted. There's things that we want to talk about with you. Just take the next month to read over it. It will be on our agenda next month to talk about in a little more detail, but I just wanted everybody to have an opportunity to have a full month to read. I mean, it's not very long, 14 pages or so. Have an opportunity to read it and just be prepared to come back with any questions that you have. Ultimately, this would supplement the policies that you sign when you're appointed to the board, the town policies. And then there's going to be a set of policies in here as well. Some of them mirror each other. Some of them will represent, or will not represent, but will reference the main body document. If you just take a look at it again, any questions that you have, we can talk about them next month. Feel free to call me as well if you'd like. If you have any specific questions, but I think it's fairly straightforward. But it really would set the tone on how we handle public comment, position for usually there's two groups, making sure that each group's being represented the same time. And do we cut off meetings at 11 o'clock at night, or do we continue on? So things along those lines. There's a little more structure proposed in here, and then we can talk about it. That's the direction the board wants to have. So that's that one item. The second thing is to the three new members, or who's soon be a new member. Just wanted to say welcome. Really excited to see a full board again and moving forward. So I do look forward to working with each of you over the months and years to come. Ready to move on.
Very good. Thank you, Courtney. So we're going to move on to item 11. Sanjay, any comments?
Just one question about the Hamptons. As you work through those Hampton plans, I suppose you will also consider the traffic from Church Street going on to Morrisville Carpenter Drive and the bottleneck that it currently creates in the evening. And I hope you will come back with recommendations on how that would be addressed along with the safety that goes with it.
Certainly. So we, within the legal framework that we're permitted by law, under the state statutes as well as the regulations of the UDO, which are in essence the law, depends on the scale of the site and whether or not it triggers what's considered a traffic impact analysis. Both phases combined do not trigger any improvements, and we can only require a developer to put in a proportional impact. So in this particular instance, for this project, they would be required to put turn lanes, sidewalks, bike lanes, anything that's in the transportation lane adjacent to the site. They would be required to do that. Any of the road network internal to the site that also require implementation of our regulations. For Church Street and Morrisville Carpenter Road, that's going to be off-site.
Okay.
And they would not be required to put any contribution into any improvements in that intersection. That intersection actually will ultimately be right in, right out as part of the Morrisville Carpenter Road widening. All traffic will come to the signal on Town Hall Drive.
Okay.
If you're trying to make a left to go to the tracks. But no, it's outside of the scope of that project.
Okay.
Any other comments?
No, thank you.
Arlene?
I want to be nosy and say, okay, what 3 stores are going where Gander Mountain went in? It was.
Drive by and find out right
I heard
now.
of
Oh, is it up
Michael's.
The
there?
Michaels and a Home Goods, and they haven't leased the middle one.
Michael's and Home Goods, okay.
So I didn't know anything on public yet. So
There's a sign they put up last week sometime. Yeah.
Um,
It's public if it's in the town of Morrisville. I mean, if it's been submitted, it's public.
If they don't put their name on the application.
Right, if they don't do that, yeah.
So,
yeah. But no, there's a sign. They have a sign on the
no, they have a
door.
sign. Those are the 2 that I can remember off the top of my head. I cannot remember the third one for the life of me.
I saw it somewhere or was told it, but I don't remember. But that gives you, I mean, they're partner stores.
So I'm sure if you go find a Home Goods and a Marshall and see what the third store is with it.
Well, the middle one's a pretty
Across the
small store.
country.
It's like 20,000-ish square foot, and then the one in the middle is like 3,000. So that's a pretty small.
I'm just super excited they were able to turn that site over really quickly.
I'm just excited that they're eliminating the Gander Mountain look and not just keeping that like
Yeah.
Hobby Lobby up the road.
Yep.
So it should look nice. It's good.
Any other?
That's all.
Lee?
No comment. More than I.
Nothing? All right. The council is pushing ahead, and it's great to see, with some town centre plans. And we've been kind of not part of that because it's just a different phase right now. But I know that there are some issues around the streetscape and so on that haven't fully been defined or planned. So I'm hoping that we can work on those things and help to keep the council out of the weeds and also have an impact on how things develop.
Certainly. So we are in the process, just so everybody's kind of on the same page here, is there was an RFP to select a firm to build phase 1 of the administration project for the town core. And the town core is really the heart of the entire town center. It's our future downtown, I think is the best way I can think of to describe it. They selected Armada Hopler. It's a firm out of Virginia Beach. And then we're going to go through the process of developing an MOU and moving forward through that process. When we've had several townhome developments come through, recently council had asked, well, are they putting in our benches? Are they putting in our trash cans? Are they putting in the lights that we see along Jeremiah Street? And it was a very clear signal that there was a disconnect between what happened in 2010 and 2007 and where we are today. So I brought back to council some general types of lights that are available through Duke Progress Energy. What they summarized basically was that they wanted the lights, if you go out into our parking lot here tonight, just take a look at them. That same version, but in black, required in the town core. And I'm talking the really tall ones, not the shorter ones that look like little lanterns. But then their pedestrian scale lighting, they wanted to somewhat mirror what was on Jeremiah Street, but modernize it so it's the same exact light pole fixture. So the fixture is what sits on top of the pole. So it's the same exact, except it doesn't have the glass lens in it. And then it will have a smooth fiberglass pole, a shorter version of a fiberglass pole that you see on Town Hall Drive for those lights.
They then started getting into, well, what are the trash cans going to look like? What are the benches going to look like? And kind of delve a little bit further. So currently, Dylan in our department is researching customizable benches options and customizable bike rack options. So we can definitely bring some of those back for your opinions as well. Ultimately, they will be brought back through a code amendment and be codified. So there's several options, or several layers to this, I guess, but there will be a code amendment brought back for you to provide a recommendation on, because really this group is the one that's designed to get into the weeds and provide recommendations, so that your recommendations can then be provided to council for them to consider, and typically they align. But you are correct. There was a fair amount of discussion on those items that I mentioned, and we're working on really getting those details worked out at this point so they can be codified. Text amendment will be coming back related to the library sometime, summer, spring. Just waiting on the library to submit and have a set of comprehensive, at least one round of comprehensive review, so we know what changes to the code need to occur, because the Main Street of 2010 is quite different than the Main Street of 2018, and so we're going to have to do a fair amount of text amendments to allow it to happen.
Thank you, Courtney. And I didn't mean to sound critical. It's just I thought there's a gap. We as a board haven't been proactive and thinking through and trying to build on what we did in 2007 and so on. So there's an opportunity there if we can work together and take some of the load off you and some of the load off council. So.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
Okay. Any other items? Right. So no expirations coming up. I'd like to again welcome Sanjay and welcome back to Catherine, and entertain a motion on item 14.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.